Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. I'm your host, Mari Reisberg. Over the past several years, I've combined my degrees in acting and somatic psychology to share my sustaining creativity techniques with performers. And now I've decided to share it with a bigger audience that includes you. I believe we are all creative, and this podcast is all about that. I'll be interviewing people from all backgrounds, ages, and creativity experiences to share just how creative we all are. Today, I'll be chatting with Vinnie Potestivo, Emmy Award-winning media advisor and editor-in-chief of I Have a Podcast. Please enjoy Vinnie Potestivo. Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. Today, I'm chatting with Vinnie Potestivo. He is an Emmy Award-winning media advisor. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me so much, Mari. I appreciate that.
I am super excited to chat with you about podcasting and creativity and hear all the awesome things that you're up to. But before we get there, if you could share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Oh yeah, some context. So where does all this energy coming from? And should we believe the words that are about to come out of this guy's mouth? Well, that's for y'all to make the decision. My name is Vinnie. I'm the oldest of six. I've got a lot of siblings in my family. I'm originally from New York. I've always had a sort of creative spirit, and I've always been a see the glass, through the eyes of positivity. I was passionate about media in the mid '90s, specifically tech media, and I figured out how to wire VCRs and create a database that held casting information. That got me into Fox News, which got me into MTV News, and I stayed at MTV for 10 years, where I got to help launch the talent development department, and my boss created Osbournes and Newlyweds and Punk'd, and I worked with modern storytellers who needed to go through a television network to change the story to get the world to see it. So Jessica Simpson, like being part of that narrative that shifted in the early 2000s. And now fast forward to the power of us, the power of people. I've been in TV a long time. I see the power in the growing economy outside of the television space, the ad-driven space of media. And I've always believed in the power of people. I got to MTV through casting. Like I loved connecting with creative and talented people who had high output. It wasn't even about needing to be a creator or an artistic creative. It was about being a master at communicating and mobilizing and igniting change. And I think that that's happening more outside of television, to be blunt and honest, than inside. And I'm here to help make sure that business owners don't spend hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars making content errors and issues that I experienced at TV. And I'm here to help point out some cycles, some things that I know out of the gate that I think most creators who became creative by way of technology, not necessarily by way of career, can be successful and stand out and thrive as a creator in this creator economy.
Awesome. I mean, the wealth
sounds
of knowledge
great. So what does that mean?
Have.
Yeah, right.
I love it. I love all of the, the things that spark creativity and curiosity. And you strike me as someone who is very curious about how things work and how people work and all
how
of
they
those
make
aspects. Yeah, exactly. When you think about creativity, what does it mean to you to be creative?
It's a communication form. It's getting something on the internal to the external, whether that's one-on-one or one-on-some or one-on-many. I think that creating is about having clarity in a message, getting that message out and making that message shareable. So I think in television, some of that shareability comes in the form of, can the network play the episode 40 or 50 times over again so that you can go and tell all your friends this is the funniest thing you've seen on TV, and then they can go find it on television. That's how television section works, versus where discovery works for us now. We have to realize that we have a lot of say and control over where, how, when we're discovered. We don't need to go through the hoops or the platforms that we used to have to go through to get discovered. And also we don't need increased visibility to increase our discoverability. That's like a big thing. That's the thing I like most about this digital space, right?
Yeah.
20 years ago, it was the more TV you can be in, the more visibility that you could have, the more impact you can make.
Mm-hmm.
I think because of the amount of screens and our time and our attention, that's not the case anymore. And
Yeah.
that if you're showing up and you're visible and you're showing up in a way that isn't shareable, it makes it difficult to be a moment of discovery. I think true discovery comes from people sharing a story, a merch, a topic, a joke, a punchline, something that you've provided while being visible. And that to me is what's going to help you with your visibility. It's almost like discoverability equals visibility to the power of sharing. Like that's how much I think the sharing has to do with discovering, sharing on social media, sharing contacts. That's networking. That's like probably the most valuable form of sharing I can think of.
Nice. I love hearing everyone's like description of what creativity means, because everyone has a very, very different definition and experience of creativity. And working in the tech field and TV and now in more of the podcasting realm, I imagine you bump up against some challenges, creative and otherwise. But when you think of the creative challenges that you find yourself in, how do you face them?
Yeah,
well, first, what are they, and how?
Everything's a creative challenge, by the way. Everything's about messaging. If finance is the challenge, and I have a creative challenge, that's called finance, and I have to find a way to make this for free, or make this at a certain budget, or make this for no budget. That's a creative challenge. That's not a budget challenge. That's me knowing. By the way, in TV, sometimes in TV, like at MTV, they would say, "Vin, we need a show in the studio. We have a studio. We need to be shooting something that can shoot 5 days a week down in that studio. Those are the shows that we need to have." So I know that I don't need to worry about the cost of the studio and the concept of the series, because we already have the studio. That type of information, having access to that type of information, and to be honest, I would then take that info and I would go back to the very same people who were giving me talent, who were like my filters and were the ones that I would reach out to when I had a talent need. Because at MTV, the last thing I did, this is a weird thing to say, but the last thing I did in casting at MTV was go out and look for it. Because like I had to find stars, and I wasn't going to put that pressure on me. I was going to say, what I'm really good at is meeting a lot of people. And I'm going to meet the people who know the stars. And I'm going to let them know about the opportunity. And when the opportunity happens, I'm going to try to get them to be a part of it as much as I can. And I'm going to keep the door open for them over and over and over again. If I can get them TRL tickets, VMA tickets, and those were like, that was like currency back in the day. Access. If I can continue to give them access to this platform that I can open the door to, then I'm in a better place, and so are they. And that was my inclusive way of building the community around me that helped me cast shows that I had no clue. I had to cast drag racing, like drivers, cars, and like I had no clues. And BMXers, I had no clue. And certain genres of music, I had no clue. But I turned to people who did, and I trusted them along the process. Tremendously, by the way. And I rewarded them as much as I can with access and information back to the platform. And I don't know, it worked out really well. It's
That's
and
great,
they're lifelong friends too, which is the best part, which is we didn't get caught in the transaction of a show or a certain element. It transcended that.
That's fantastic. I love just the aspect of, the currency piece that you have or the access piece, but also that reaching out for help is valuable. I think oftentimes many times creators feel like, oh, I have to create in this vacuum and I can't reaching out for help is like not being creative because it's not coming from me. But I think reaching out for help offers so many more creative opportunities. So thank you for bringing that.
It does. It creates an opportunity for someone else to be part of the alchemy of what I'm creating. It doesn't take away from somebody. I'm not taking something from somebody. I'm giving them an opportunity to be a part of this, and they can decide to be a part of it or not. I dare you not to be a part of it. It certainly happens. There's the timeliness of it, and that's, I think, why those relationships matter, because Because the news cycle and the social cycle and the
Mm-hmm.
humanity cycle that we're in, that we need to be conscious of the people that matter most, not the businesses. I'm not pitching, at MTV, they didn't pitch shows to MTV, the building, they pitched it to the people. And
Right.
you need champions in that building. I know this for a fact. You need
Yeah.
champions. You need people, not even executives, not even SVPs, VPs. It's not the biggies. It's the people right in the middle, the managers, coordinators who have everything to win from the success. Those are the people who take risks, I found.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people that I continue to pitch to. And that's why I'm constantly networking, because there's so much growth that happens in media. And
Mm-hmm.
you either get promoted up quickly or you get fired up. Oh, you're so bad as a producer. Maybe he should be an executive producer. Like, boom, boom, up. It's like a weird thing that happens.
Yeah. That's so
And
interesting. I love what you were just talking about, like taking the creative risk. Those aren't people who do. What do you think it is about them that they have more trust to take creative risk than others?
um, hmm. Some of it is, some of it's training, mindset, experience. It's probably a little bit of all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's finishing a project, getting past the finish line, and looking around the studio and seeing what you just created and who you just created it with. It's like almost after the fact when you're looking around, I'm thinking of, like, I'm picturing like when we launched Laguna Beach. I'm looking in the studio and I'm thinking of all the faces that I'm seeing in the kids and how much energy is in that room right now. And did we just create something that's going to change how kids can connect with each other, or
Mm-hmm.
did we just derail something? I think there's an inherent amount of trust. I think that now there's more responsibility. The networks have more corporate and financial responsibility for the actions and words that are coming from their platform, and
Sure.
it's not just because the audience matters, and it's not just because the advertisers matter. It's really the advertisers that have a lot of control over what's hitting the airways, because they're the ones paying for it. Ooh, my voice dropped down because I'm talking about them,
Right.
them advertisers. By the way, who are just funding this creative platform. And if we, the people, can give the machine that is media better stuff, if we can, there's like this weird saying, like, to make sausage, if we can make better sausage, then like that's the goal, that's strategy. And if I can make that sausage without having to go through the processed part, if I can be
Yeah.
independent and I can truly trust on the local level where my
Mhm.
sources and materials are coming from, I think that's why I'm connected to podcasting so much. The independent side of it, where we as business owners own our intellectual property, where we as the bosses of our businesses and or podcasts have the ability to give credit and get credit. So I have the ability now not just to be the executive producer of a podcast, but also share that credit with people who I know
Yeah.
will continue to thrive because of those opportunities.
Yeah. No, I love all of those pieces. I think it's so important. But that after effect of looking around and thinking, like,
Yeah,
what did I just create? Or
me
how
too.
have I impacted so many people by taking this one risk? Positively impacted,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
hope it's
yeah,
positive in that regard.
yeah,
But you
yeah.
strike me also as someone who is easily inspired by things. And I'm curious, in today's landscape, who or
Hmm.
what inspires you?
Oh, that's a great question. I really love learning how people create. There's like an obsession. People want content strategies, and
I
I'm like, you don't want content strategy. You want a life strategy. Stop asking for content. Stop asking for better photos. Go live a better life, and you'll get better photos. The reason why your content isn't connecting is because it's not fun to watch. It's probably not fun to make either. So if it's
Right.
not fun to make, why would you think it's going to be fun to watch? And in TV they have this. There's a couple of rude sayings they have. You can't polish a turd. They say that a whole bunch. They say don't rewrap an old gift. Don't take something off the shelf and then just put a whole one tiny little bow on it and pretend like it's something completely different. When you pull off that one layer, it's the
Right.
same onion that has been, and,
Yeah.
and I say onion for the many layers that are in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that yeah, I also think that creators, I don't, I don't know. I'm curious to see how how industry trained creators who
Mm.
are leaving TV for podcasting and digital platforms, and I'm seeing more and more of us come into other platforms and other territories. I'm curious to see how we and what pieces of our industry, the TV industry, we bring with us
Mm.
as 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 media, even podcasting. Yes, there is an economy, a podcast economy. Yes, there is a podcast market. Yes, there is a media market.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a larger media fracture across economies, a large, meaning there are more opportunities for lawyers, bakers, candlestick makers in media. And I don't even mean as podcast hosts, I mean closed circuit TV networks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's so many other ways now that media fractures other economies. I get excited about that. I get inspired
Mm.
by how I can help people maximize and amplify their impact
Yeah.
through what I know how to distribute, amplify, aggregate. More importantly, aggregate. Aggregation is the one bucket most people I think are forgetting for podcasting. Podcasting, so when we publish it on Podbean, Anchor, that creates content.
Yeah.
When we put it on social media, that amplifies content. Getting it on podcast networks like Apple and Google, that plays content.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this whole other bucket called aggregation, where if I want a blog about podcast marketing, I log into my blog aggregator and it gives me a blog about podcast marketing. If I can get your episode into that aggregator, so that when someone who says, now is the time for me to read, now I want inbound information, now I'm looking for something that I don't know what it is, but I need my expectations met.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can help you as a podcaster get your message out there without needing the artwork and all the fluff and all the stuff, that all the branding that we focus on. I can take the core message of what you're doing and help you get discovered at a point in time where someone is looking for it, will consume it and do one of three things: consume it, and that's it. Consume it and share it, which is the dream. Or not even consume it and just share it because they're just looking for content to post on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. And this is how I'm growing my presence and social proof, by getting my blogs put into an aggregator. And then since I create blogs for my podcast, I also realized that I can go to Google news.google.com and I can become a source and not a story. And so now I'm a Google News verified platform. And once I figured that out, then I went to Bing, PubHub, and Yahoo, and Apple News, and Flipboard, and found all these ways where I can now take my written content from podcasts and amplify and aggregate that out so that I can bring more eyeballs back.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Amazing tip. Like, I feel it's the hidden tips. Thank you for sharing.
Everyone,
that.
so much focus on social media, and I'm like, all y'all keep looking at social media, and I'm over here on Google being like, ooh, I can stand out. By the way, if you type in "I have a podcast," my podcast will show up, and the thing that will show up most is most likely IMDb. That's how valuable us podcasters getting our podcast on IMDb is. That's why it's free. You don't even, by the way, on VPE.tv, I have documentation of every piece of tactic that I've shared, awards worthy of winning, platforms that pay out podcasters, how to get your podcast on IMDb for free. It costs nothing, by the way. Nothing that I've shared costs any money at all. And my Creator Hub is free also. I'm passionate about making sure that access is given to people who know how to use these tools.
That's amazing. And thank you so much for doing that. And we'll make sure it all goes in show notes so people can access it. Absolutely. I just have one last question for you.
Sure.
What does it feel like in your body to be creative?
Oh, it's magical. It's magical. It really is. It feels like energy. It feels like synchronicity. It feels abundant. It feels rejuvenating. It's, there's this, I think Maya Angelou talked about this once, like the power of creativity. The more you have and the more you give, the more you have.
Yeah.
And then on the flip hand, I think Warren Buffett talks about like sales and money, and the more you spend, the less you have. But yet social media content the value, everyone wants money and collateral, everything all linear at the same time.
Right.
So here I like to point out that creativity is a completely different beast.
It is.
It is unmeasurable and completely measurable at the same time. Unpredictable and Look at what happened with NFTs last year.
Yeah.
This is just the beginning of how we can't wrap our head around how valuable or invaluable or unvaluable, our creativity is. But I'll tell you what's valuable. Our audiences, our connections with our people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that podcasters who have a couple of downloads, 50, 100 downloads per episode, I think we have more stamina and say in a market than maybe some social media influencers. And I think that when the creator economy finally turns to the podcasters and sees the relationship we have built over years or months with our audience and how small our numbers may look compared to the inflated numbers that social media is giving everybody else.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because podcasts are legal download. Well, I mean, you can buy downloads and there's certain things you can do to trick the numbers, but ads are traceable, and there are elements of podcasting that you cannot fake the same way that it was easy to fake in social media 10 years ago. So if you're looking to take the leap, I'm here to help you. I love podcast guesting. I gotta say that, if I thought that I could be a podcast guest without being a podcast host, I might have tried guesting first. It's to be invited to someone. It's like Thanksgiving dinner, to be invited to someone's house. I did the work, I did the research, and I show up with trays of food and hey, like, first of all, I didn't come with a goodie bag. I'm expecting to leave with some valuable info too, but this is the give and take that we have, and this is my approach to building lifelong friends. And someone once asked me, "What's my strategy? How do I pick podcasts?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, I don't pick podcasts. I pick people. I just want to meet people. I just want to know how everyone creates, because that's everyone's watching. So I want to learn however. If I sat down and talked to 10 production companies." I sat down and talked to 10 production companies, and I asked them how you make money. They'll all say different ways. They all make money from different ways of media.
Yeah.
If that's how production companies are operating, imagine how we're all uniquely finding our way through our own paths.
Yeah.
So,
I love the connecting, and
out.
so glad that it is people that draw you in and inspire and spark. And thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. If people want to learn more about the things that you do, where could they go find you?
Oh yeah, brilliant. They can go to the show notes, and while you're looking up my information in the show notes, please leave this podcast a warm 5-star welcome. Like, let's just make this be the moment, right? Like, take the leap, please, for me. Give Mari the 5-star review she deserves. I'll lead by example. I will meet you in the comments, and I will see you all there. I hate giving out my address because I feel like these interviews will last far longer than my address ever could. That being said, I got a long last name. Potestivo. You Google me. You can find that. That's a long last name. And I don't even shorten it down to Vinnie P. So that being said, LinkedIn is the short answer. And if there's anything I can do to help you, the documentation, like seriously, if there's anything I can do to help you get through these obstacles, find awards, find ways to get paid, how to stand out, ways to maximize and amplify your brand, I'm here to help. And I have it all for free at vpe.tv.
Perfect. I will absolutely put that in show notes. We can all access it there. And thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. It's been such a treat.
Mari, you're the best. Thank you for this.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. We'd love to keep in touch, so follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Sustaining Creativity. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Tag your friends and family so they can listen too. We love to hear from you, so leave your reviews, comments, and questions. Check out our website, sustainingcreativity.com, for upcoming offerings and creativity coaching. Tune in Tuesdays for our next episode. And remember, with creativity, anything's possible.